Reason magazine. It is a libertarian magazine. They are very big on small government, limiting government. Most of their articles are about government overreach. They have talked about police overreach for years and years. They were one of the few who I think really focused on that long before George Floyd. But unfortunately and unsurprisingly, they have some rather unsavory views when it comes to animals and when it comes to property rights. Although I will say they have come out in favor of like Miyoko when she was battling the courts regarding calling her butter. Libertarians who write for Reason were saying that's baloney. They saw it as government going too far, trying to keep a company, a private company, from labeling their butter the way they wanted to, and arguing that Americans aren't stupid, that we can tell the difference between almond milk and cow's milk. But when it comes to veganism as an ethical issue, when it comes to animal rights, libertarians generally are not in favor of that, and the people at Reason are no different. Vegan animal sanctuary owner charged with stealing cows from neighboring farm. Animals are property and property rights matter. And I feel like I can stop the video there because, I mean, that's the crux of the issue. They believe that property comes before sentient beings. They believe animals are property and I guess should be property because clearly they are not just like Jed, the libertarian in that debate with Earthling Ed, who clearly was not libertarian and thought that if it was legal, then it was fine. That's not typically the libertarian position. Again, they are all for getting rid of laws that they see as overreaching. So if they're saying that animals are property, I think it's pretty clear that they believe they should be property, which is where the argument for marginal cases comes in, I think, very handy. Why? Why is it animals? Why are animals property, but certain humans aren't? Is it intelligence? Well, clearly there are humans who are not intelligent. If animals do not have direct moral status, then neither do such human beings as infants, the senile, the severely cognitively disabled, and other such marginal cases of humanity. I think my biggest problem with this piece is that they don't even address the animal rights issue at all. Like they're just like animals are property. That's it. Moving on. Property rights exist first and foremost to protect property owners, and animals are property. If the tables were turned here, if a pair of Murphy's animals had gotten loose from her sanctuary and ended up on Gregson's farm, those animals would still be Murphy's property, not Gregson's, and I'd have written a column in support of Murphy. I have no doubt that's true, but that's not the issue. One of the local farmers said, "The message was simple. Do not steal or violate the livestock rights of our farmers. The other side tried to make it about eating meat, veganism. That's not what the issue is." That is what the issue is. To us, she is not stealing cows. She's rescuing cows, and that's because of veganism. That's because of the ethical stance of veganism. We believe it is wrong to exploit these animals. They are not property. They are persons. Unfortunately, not in the eyes of the law, at least not yet. Now, fortunately, Murphy, the sanctuary owner, does have an attorney who says, now that she's been charged, the fight is just beginning, but we intend to vindicate her rights in every court imaginable. So I'm very interested to see where this goes. I doubt this case will lead to cows being seen as persons instead of things, but you have to start somewhere. And I think the more we see this challenge and the more we see arguments made for farm animals as being sentient beings and not things, the closer we get to the law being changed. And look, we already do see these animals as not quite property, right? They're not quite the same as a thing, as like a stereo you own. There are some amount of protection for even farm animals. Threadbare as it may be, there are some protections. So there is acknowledgement that these animals feel pain. Also, just to criticize what Murphy did, she did offer money for them after the fact, which is crazy. Please do not pay to rescue animals. I've talked about this before in previous videos. I think when it came to puppy mills, I think that as long as there are people raising dogs, there's always going to be the adult dog that got too old. There's going to be the puppy with an overbite or its eye got hurt, the unsellable puppies. To me, that's really what I always did for the most part, was pick up the crumbs at the bottom, those that nobody wanted. That's a more complicated issue because it's not clear where these defective, for lack of a better word, defective dogs would otherwise go. But no matter what their fates would have been, buying the dogs only serves to help the breeders. It only serves to keep them in business by reducing their losses and increasing their profits. Which, if we want puppy mills abolished, it's not really a good outcome. There are people who will go to puppy mills, they'll go to auctions to save cows and whatnot. They'll buy them. You're supporting the industry. Like I get the sentiment there, but please don't do that. So again, I'm interested to see where this will go. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Comments down below. If I have any vegan libertarians watching, I would love to hear your thoughts on this and how you kind of square property rights with veganism and how you square animal rights with libertarianism. I remember hearing that Ayn Rand, like she really loved animals and she really struggled with not being able to have a stronger position on animals and animal welfare because it just wasn't consistent, she thought, with objectivism. I don't know how true that is. That's just something I heard. It wouldn't surprise me that she would put consistency over compassion, I guess. But certainly I would rather people, libertarians, Christians, whoever else, be compassionate over trying to be consistent with their, dogma. I don't care if it makes no sense for a libertarian to be vegan. Be vegan. Just make it work in your head somehow. Not that we should just go with our gut, facts over feelings and all that. I was just kind of admonishing the sanctuary owner for offering to buy the cows and how that's wrong. I think that would be a good case of our compassion or our empathy for these animals overriding reason, or really what makes sense in the long run and what's really helping animals in the long run. Because really, veganism is a rational choice. It has nothing to do with empathy. You don't have to love animals or really like them at all to be vegan. I really don't consider myself an animal person anymore. I don't really enjoy being around even dogs and cats, if I'm being quite frank. Peter Singer has a great little thing on this. I think it's at the start of Animal Liberation, basically advocating for animals without being a quote-unquote animal lover. I don't love every human being either. I don't want them hurt because they're sentient beings, not because I love them. It's the same for animals. Anyway, thanks again. Like the video if you liked it. Subscribe, hit the bell if you want to be notified when I upload a new video. And thank you so much to my patrons at patreon.com/unnaturalvegan. Thank you for supporting the channel, and I'll have a new video very soon. Actually had an interesting little discussion with my 5-year-old the other day because we have one of the vegan books we got when I did that big vegan book review video. I forgot which one it's called, but it's one of them that I really like. I like the art style a lot. Oh, I Am Not Food. It's called I Am Not Food. I am a cow and I am not food. I am a person just like you. And my 5-year-old was like, no, cow isn't a person. And so I said, well, there are people like us, like vegans and people who care about cows and chickens. We want them to be called persons because they're not just things, right? They're not just a rock or, your Switch that you play Zelda on, right? They feel pain. So we want them to be seen as persons like us. And they were like, oh, all right. So, if my 5-year-old can understand it,